The Flash is a movie Warner Brothers Discovery was really hoping would be successful. It has been delayed so many times and they put so much money into it and they really needed a win with it, but things aren't looking too great since the box office estimates have tanked and the scores are pretty far from perfect for this mediocre film. I have a few different things that I want to show off, but before we get into the topic, if you enjoy the content that I create, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and the notification bell. Follow me on social media like Twitter or mine so that you can see when my content is posted. And of course, if you do really enjoy the videos and the live streams that I create, please consider becoming a Dark Titan via Patreon or a supporter via YouTube memberships. So as you can see, this Cosmic Book News article says it all. The Flash will need legs, box office teetering on a massive failure. DC's big $250 million plus The Flash movie has finally opened, and things are looking a little bit rough for it. Now, Deadline lays it out pretty well. The Flash has lost speed with a $60 million 3-day opening, which are way under even the lower side of the estimates. There are a lot of lessons to be learned this weekend, but chief among them is what it's like for a major motion picture studio to open a movie with largely a number of its cast, primarily its main star, not available to do press. Now, I don't think that the lack of press completely killed this movie. I didn't ever think that this was going to do amazing, right? I never thought this film was going to hit $1 billion, even though people like James Gunn were boasting about how it's the best superhero movie of all time. That was the press that they did. They had studio executives and directors and producers and writers and even other actors saying this movie is amazing. It's one of the best films I've ever seen. That was the press they decided to do instead, which honestly you would think would be a little bit better, especially when you have someone like Ezra as the star of this film, right? They didn't send Ezra into interviews because they knew it was inevitable that Ezra's past was going to be brought up and people were going to question, where his legal troubles were standing, how his mental health was doing, and they didn't want to deal with that. So instead, they pretended like, we don't do cast interviews for movies. We're not doing them with this film. And I don't think that it hurt the movie, but I also feel like they should have done at least a few. It says that's the big looming question, which has been on everyone's mind in the wake of Ezra Miller's tabloid lad in 2020 to 2022 in regards to Warner Bros. DC's $200 million The Flash, which is all the way up to $250 million as we know, with a 3-day around $60 million off from the $70 to $75 million the studio was expecting. And you have to consider that these estimates are even lower. Originally, like 2 to 2.5 months ago, we were hearing that the opening predictions were around $95 million, and they didn't even hit the lowest projections, which was 70 to 75. It also mentions the studio is still expecting the Juneteenth holiday to deliver and get the film to $70 million over 4 days, which I think is, absurd. Now, keep in mind they wanted Flash to earn 70 to 75 million in the opening weekend, which is already the lowest for any of the DCEU movies, and we don't know what they were expecting worldwide, but we can look at something like Man of Steel, Dawn of Justice, Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman, Justice League, and Aquaman, and their opening weekend numbers domestically, and the only one that Flash is going to beat at this point is going to be the first Aquaman. Now, the first Aquaman did absolutely fantastic foreign. They did crazy numbers foreign, but domestic opening was only $67 million for Aquaman, but that is the lowest. I mean, at this point, there is no way domestically it's going to beat even the Justice League, which got $93 million in its opening weekend. The others are Wonder Woman at $103 million, Suicide Squad at $133 million, and that is, not the newer Suicide Squad. This was the one from 2017. We have Dawn of Justice at 166 million, and then Man of Steel at 116 million. And we know that, this Flash movie is the end of the DCEU, right? They're changing timelines, they're changing things around. But as you can see, this movie was supposed to release years ago, and it should have been directly against these films. So that's why I'm only counting these. But even if you look at something like Black Adam, right? Dwayne Johnson beats his box office record with Black Adam, earning 67 million opening weekend domestically. So it is going to be right around those numbers potentially, for this 4-day weekend. But right now at 3 days, it's only at 60 million, meaning it is still a whole 7 million off. There is a chance that it could earn that as it, finishes out this 4-day weekend, but there's a chance that it actually won't. And looking at the scores, things are also not looking good for this movie. Now, I have seen it. I do have a few opinions on it. And honestly, I didn't think that this movie was all that good. Honestly, I was pretty disappointed. Even though Ezra is the lead and we've all seen the crazy shit they've done, I still wanted this to be an okay movie, and it wasn't the worst, but it wasn't great. I thought, oh look, they're adding people in like Keaton, which is nostalgic, but not overdone. Then boom, spoiler alert, they throw in a ton of cameos, and apparently there were more they cut, like Linda Carter's Wonder Woman, so they from the beginning were just planning to milk people's nostalgia, which I'm personally a bit sick of. 1 cameo is perfect, 2 is okay, but after that, you're going overboard. Also, the CGI for this movie was awful. I think that it's hilarious because a few days ago, the director actually said, oh, it's intentional. It's supposed to look a little weird. And I call bullshit on that. This movie isn't artsy and pretty. It's not like it's a little weird, but it looks good. No, it looks really, really rough. It is not visually impressive in a lot of ways. And I also was not a fan of Ezra. And of course, you have multiple Ezras throughout the movie. You have to listen to the different versions of him. And I just did not end up enjoying that. And of course, it's a major problem when you don't like the main star of a movie. And of course, the story itself was rough around the edges. I mean, again, spoiler alert, he just kept resetting the timeline over and over and over, which in my opinion just didn't make for a good story, and none of them could beat Zod. The fact that Kara couldn't even come close to beating Zod was so underwhelming since she didn't even really put up a fight. I get that she was supposed to be in a bit of a weaker state, but I felt like someone from that family should have had a better chance against him, but she never did. Plus, with the Flash, it should have been a complete sweep for them. The movie just did not impress me the way the trailers did, and apparently other people weren't all that happy with it either, given the fact that critics are panning it and users are saying it's good, but it's not amazing. Plus, the box office is looking rough. I mean, look at these scores. The all critic is a 66, but the top critic is a 49, and the verified audience is an 87. But the all audience is an 80, and it was all the way down to a 75. So, I don't know. I just feel like a lot of people are still needing to see it, and the audience score will probably drop. I would say it'll stick around a 75 or so. But the critics honestly are a little bit more spot on, in my opinion. I definitely think an 87 is extremely generous. The movie does not deserve it. In my opinion, this movie is a 6 out of 10, and I feel like the scores are very Keaton-based. I think people saw him in this movie, and since he was the best part, they gave it high scores. He was really great, though, and he had the best scenes in the film by far, and if you took his Batman out of this, you're left with literally nothing. But even with his great performance, it still doesn't deserve higher than a 6 out of 10. But yeah, as you can see, there's just a lot of issues surrounding this movie. I don't think it's going to be as successful as the company was hoping, and a lot of people are still really, really upset and refusing to see it because of Ezra's past. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this and of course found it important and informative, please make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.